Company culture starts at the top. So if your company culture is bad, better take a look at leadership. So one may ask, what is company culture? Company culture is comprised of the values, the behavior, and the overall work environment that you want your company to have. So now you can want a certain company culture, but you also have to look at realistically what type of company culture you actually have. A lot of times we want to have the engaging company culture where everyone is singing kumbaya around the campfire, all best friends. That is not reality. Not everyone is going to be best friends. Not everyone is going to get along. However, you can make it a point to make sure that everyone enjoys coming to work. You can make it a point to make sure that there is overall a cohesive and collaborative environment to where you do not foster negative habits. When I say negative habits, I mean like gossiping. I mean putting other people down. I mean interrupting one another and talking over other people. So that way you have an overall positive and healthy company culture. Values. You want to make sure that your team members know what the values of the company are. This might come from your mission statement, your vision statement, or your company core values. If your company does not have any of these three, go talk to the CEO. If you are the CEO, start looking inward and try to figure out what those things are. You want to be able to help to give your company direction, and that's one of the things that's going to overall help to shape your overall company culture. Behaviors. Let's think about what types of behaviors we want. I know I hit on this a little bit in the beginning. We want things that are positive. We want to encourage people, if they have an issue with someone, to go talk to that person directly about it. Don't go talk to everyone else. Don't go around, as they say, the grapevine. Go talk to that individual specific person, because most of the times it's simply a miscommunication. One person said one thing, another person took it as something else. The initial person didn't intend it that way, and that was not their overall purpose for the conversation, but things can be miscommunicated, so just talk things through. Other behaviors is checking in on one another, especially your colleagues. So if you're on the same team, fostering that culture where, hey, if so-and-so's out sick for like 3 or 4 days in a row, someone texts them, someone calls them, hey, is everything okay? Another thing is having the leadership team go by and actually talk to all of the employees on a weekly basis, if not more. I normally would like to do multiple times a week. I wouldn't do daily, because daily I felt like I wanted to give them their space as well. But I would do multiple times a week because I wanted to make sure that they knew that I was engaged with them. I wanted them to know that I actually cared about them. They were not just a number to me. I cared about their well-being. There was a couple of employees that I actually helped pick them up on the side of the road when they got into a wreck, took her to the hospital, like all these things. And granted, yes, maybe it wasn't the best of situations as the leader, but I also took on that role and wanted to make sure that my team members were taken care of, not only professionally, but personally as well. The other part is work environment. So the behavior definitely leads to the overall work environment. You want to make sure that you are having something that is not a toxic work environment. You do not want people so uptight that they feel like they can't say one peep or say one word and express themselves. You want to make sure that you have an open door policy. And I know not all companies are like this. Not all companies can be like this. But I do encourage you to, if you are the founder, the owner of the organization, to empower your leaders that are within different departments to be open and have that open door policy with the team members, because they ultimately are the integrator. Your leaders are the integrator between the employees and you. So whatever it is that the leaders are doing, they are making the direct impact regardless of what you want. They are making the immediate and direct impact with your team members. So if your leadership is not doing well, then you have to start looking inward if you are the CEO and the owner. That is not always easy, but it is necessary. How leaders ultimately set the tone is going to be through transparency. So there's a difference between being rude and overly brutally honest than being transparent. So transparency is when you are just communicating the truth. You are ultimately letting them know what can be improved, what they're doing well in, and just keeping the communication open. There's no ill intent. It's just stating the facts and keeping communication open. It is not one-sided as well. So as the leader, it's okay for you to voice how it is that you are seeing their work being done and things that they can improve upon, but it's also fine for the employee to also give you feedback. So just be open to what it is that your team members are feeling, and be sensitive and empathetic to how you're communicating. Be very intentional with your words, because words do mean things. And if you say the wrong thing, you just want to make sure that you are saying what you are intending and making sure that it cannot be miscommunicated in any way, especially as the leader. Another way that leaders set the tone is through decision making. So you want to have a clear decision making process. That goes back to standard operating procedures. Standard operating procedures overall, also known as SOPs, are one of my favorite things because they really set the tone and set the precedence for your leadership, how your team actually runs, the productivity and the efficiency of the overall company. So when you are a leader, it is very important for you to make clear decisions and very precise and timely decisions. I cannot tell you how many times I went in the room with one of the owners of the company and they couldn't give me an answer on certain things. I would go round and round in circles, or they would go round and round in circles about the answer, but not giving me the direct answer. So make sure that you are very consistent with your decision making and making sure that it is cohesive. So don't make a decision that's completely left field to what is in line with the company vision, or don't make something that's completely left field from what is normally true to you. Now, if you have a valid reason for it and can back it up with evidence, then that is also helpful. When you are making decisions, you also want to give your team background as to why you're making that decision, because that will help them to understand how they fit into the overall picture and help them to overall be able to carry out the vision of what it is that you're making a decision on and why you're making the decision on that. So overall, we want to build a strong culture. The way to do that is through clear values, accountability, and employee engagement. Let's start with clear values. So that goes back to having a mission, a vision statement, or some core values to be able to tie your team to. That is going to be the way that everyone actually fits into the overall strong company culture that you are trying to have and that you are trying to foster for your team. Next, accountability. Accountability goes a lot further than you might think. When you give someone accountability, that's telling them that you trust them. That's them knowing that, hey, okay, this person knows that I'm capable of doing this task, doing this project, and they trust me with it. Okay, let me do everything that I can to live up to those expectations that the leader has bestowed upon me. So when you are giving someone and telling them, hey, you're accountable for this, you're accountable for that, and then also make sure that you're checking in with them, because that is a part of holding them accountable for whatever it is that you gave them. But I can guarantee you, if you start using more accountability and holding your team more accountable, that will help them, if they're the right fit for the role, that will help them to be able to succeed and want to do better for you, for the team, and for themselves, and ultimately give them that fulfillment of knowing that they're doing their job very well. And then last but certainly not least is employee engagement. I've seen companies that have done the first two things and all the other things I've talked about in the video, but did not have a strong employee engagement. And you have to engage with your employees through company surveys. Company surveys are so crucial to understanding what your team members want. And I was a part of a company that we actually had a company survey that we did, an employee survey that we did 1 year. And then it was probably about 8 months later, we had grown tremendously. So there was a lot of new team members, and our surveys were like night and day difference. It was insane to see, but data does not lie. That's why you have to follow the numbers. And that's why having those types of employee surveys on, I would say, a quarterly to annual basis is a good rule of thumb, because people change, things change, preferences change along the way. So you want to be able to stay in and up to date with what it is that your team members are wanting, so that way you can serve them the best, because they're ultimately performing for you. So I know some people are like, well, they work for me, blah, blah, blah. That is not the right mentality to have. You want to make sure that you are pouring into your employees, because ultimately what you pour into them, they will give back to you. And so lastly, with employee engagement, have fun with your team members. invite them out for paintball, go to dinner. Like, there's all these different things that you can do for managers. You can do company outings, like company retreats. They don't have to be far away. They can be something that's local. So just get creative. Think of some ideas of what you all can do to be able to help, because people want to feel appreciated. People want to feel recognized. And it's not where you have to call out their name at every single event or in front of everyone at every team meeting. It's just letting them know that you care, catering a lunch for them randomly, or like I said, having a company retreat where you all go to out for dinner and then to a team building event, or out for lunch and then a team building event, something of that nature. But just make it fun, make it upbeat, make it uplifting. It's just a day to get out of the office and connect with one another, because not only does leadership make an impact, but also the people that they work with. So leaders can ultimately make a large culture shift if they want to. So if you feel like right now you all are struggling with your company culture and that things are kind of just staying afloat, you're kind of sink or swim right now, totally understandable. Try to make small adjustments along the way. Start trying to recognize people a little bit more. As the leader, start being a little bit more approachable and going around the team members. Sometimes you don't realize how intimidating as a leader you can be, and you not even know it. I've had people to tell me, oh my goodness, Dan, I thought you were like going to be the meanest person, blah, blah, blah. But then you ended up being super nice and like really outgoing, all these types of things. And I'm like, no, I'm really not that person. And it's just because from that type of mindset, as an employee, you think leaders are potentially scary or whatever it might be. But that does not have to be the stigma. That does not have to be what it is. So just make yourself approachable as the leader. Make yourself open and ready for communication and transparency, and all will be well. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you all next time.